What's up, everybody? This is Talking of Carl back again for another Christmas movie review. And today I will be going over the probably like the biggest, uh, one of the biggest Christmas classics, Will Ferrell's Elf, directed by John Favreau himself. Now, I gotta mention, you know, uh, this is not my personal favorite Christmas movie. I go to it from time to time in the holidays if the feeling the if the feeling arrives and it's like, I'm like, I'm in a mood kind of situation. It's not like how I feel about like Scrooged or like Charlie Brown's Christmas or something like that, or the It's a Wonderful Life. Whereas like, I really want to see this year. Elf, at least to me personally, does not fit that, you know, you know, doesn't get into the heart like that for me. A lot of people love the heck out of Elf. And I'm not saying it's a bad film. Not by a long shot. It's really good. But it's just like it's just not even, it doesn't like reach any kind of nostalgia kicks or anything like that. And man, John Favreau really I mean, if there was some kind of like uh you know career dive or something like that, just to of like his long-standing career of his life, because he has an impressive career, but it's like, I think the first time we acknowledged at least personally, the first time I acknowledged him as a director, or at least realized he was having any kind of directorial thing, it was the first Iron Man movie. But then it's like, as time went by, I started to realize, oh, he directed other stuff too. So it's like he deserves his props. And I don't know, he's kind of feel like he's kind of like he took off from just being one of the funny fat guys in certain movies back in the day. Was his first movie he reviewed. Directed. I'm trying to look it up. The movie made. So Elf was his second movie he directed. So he directed, his first movie he directed was Made. I haven't heard of that movie. It was like a Vince Vaughn movie, I guess. First was Made, 2001, 2003, Elf, Zithra, A Space Adventure, 2005, and Iron Man 1, 2, Cowboys and Aliens, Chef, which everybody says is an impressive movie. I haven't seen it. I kind of want to see it, but I don't know. I got to set out the time to do so. Then Jungle Book, then Lion King. Those are, and then of course like a lot of Star Wars stuff. And he has a hand on a lot of Marvel properties too, beyond the Iron Man stuff. But anyway, this movie stars Will Ferrell, James Caan, Zooey Deschanel, Ed Asner, Mary Steenburgen, and Bob Newhart. And then, of course, narrated by Bob Newhart, which is actually pretty clever to have it opens in like a storybook format. You know what I mean? Because it gives that sense of that old like stop animation style, crap, like the year without a Santa Claus kind of situation. What do you call those things? I mean, not call it, but like the person behind it. Oh, Rankin and Bass. That was it. That was uh, is a Rankin and Bass kind of homage, I should say, with like certain stop motions mixed with the live action. And it's pretty dope. Uh, Probably didn't really need to spend. I imagine it didn't really cost that much with budget to do something like that. Not something on the scale of, say, Space Jam, I imagine. But the movie begins with Santa Claus a long time ago doing his, Christmas run. He stopped at an orphanage, and a baby climbed into his uh into his Santa present sack. And when he got back home, the baby crawled out, and everybody's freaking out because no human has ever set foot at the North Pole. So they didn't know what to do with the baby, and there's no time to bring the baby back at this point, because Christmas Day will be already upon them. So one of the elves, named Papa Elf, played by Bob Newhart, took on the father role for this kid, adopted him essentially, you know, and just raised to, they called him Buddy, and they raised him as his own son. Teaching him how like to ride a bike and you know, just being an elf. He was raised like an elf. It's kind of similar to like Mowgli in the Jungle Book, but in this case, it's elves. He been raised by himself wolves, and because of that, his mindset is kind of like it's perpetually childlike because it's like he's feel and unlike elves, I guess has like a different kind of like body chemistry where their sugar intake is just like their balanced breakfast to them or like these balanced meals to them. Whereas Buddy, being human, I'm surprised he didn't get any kind of I'm pretty sure I don't know if it's ever been shown, but like maybe sugar shock, diabetes, or something or other because the man pours maple syrup over his spaghetti. And there was one scene that kind of grossed me out. And I'm mad. I got, because there's been certain movies that people just do like, certain actors do like the most gross stuff. But it's just like kudos to them to actually like, doing it and not making it fake. Well, like when I mentioned about Cruella movie with Emma Stone taking that like slice of banana that was on her cheek that was coming from a trash bag and putting it in her mouth, and then Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns actually swallowed not swallowed but put a live bird in her mouth and held it there for a minute. And here's another thing where Will Ferrell literally had a plate full of spaghetti, poured maple syrup over it, then added crumpled up Pop-Tarts and like I think marshmallows on it, and just grind them together with his own fingers and shoved it in his freaking mouth. Like, damn, that's gotta be gross. And like I can imagine like I mean, obviously he didn't have to eat that in one sitting. There's this show in scenes of him taking a couple of bites, but there's been like at least a few scenes out of the entire movie where he has to like eat spaghetti with maple syrup on it. And I don't know. I don't know if anybody ever even tried that. But honestly, it is disgusting. But Buddy's having a tough time, you know, adjusting this. He's trying to do, normal elf tasks. Well, since he's not an elf, where like an elf can, you know, put out thousands of products in like almost like a certain amount of time, and Buddy only managed to do it like only like extra sketches. Like he made 85 or 95 extra sketches uh 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 through the shift so far, which kind of everybody looked at him like all shocked and stunned, like because like the bare minimum was like a thousand, something like that, and it's like at least a little over 1,000, and of course, Buddy's human form cannot keep up with that speed, despite the fact that it's kind of like if you like imagine if you're going to basketball camp and you practicing, and doing like drills and all that stuff like almost every day. But like you see like someone like Michael Jordan or LeBron or Steph Curry and the way they play, and it's like you're in a room full of like Steph Curry's and LeBron James's around you, and there's a certain thing that you gotta do to kind of meet the bare minimum of what they do, and like you fall short, everybody looking at you, all goofy. But then you go to the outside world and start playing, like and then you just start like just doing like just the, just tearing it up on the court, because the by ratio, Buddy, when he does certain things, when he gets to New York City, because he eventually has to look for his real father, he does all these things in such lightning speed, or just got this kind of energy, and it's like you set up all these like Christmas ornaments and decorations and all this stuff is like incredible design work, and like and just certain things he does and like he does like a snowball fight, and he doesn't like such a like he get piles of snowballs in one go, and like rocket propel these snowballs into some bullies. He just like by the average human, he's top notch. Or to put it in anime terms, he's like the Krillin to a bunch of normal people that didn't go through any training that he has. Even though Krillin is not like on the level of Goku or Vegeta, he still can hold his own fairly. But put him in a setting, in normal human settings, like if he's just stopping like common robbers trying to rob a bank, he would just dominate them immediately. Is that kind of ratio. But a lot of the elves have sympathy for him in front of his face, but a few of them sitting there talking behind his back, and he overhears a couple of them mentioning that he's human. This kind of like shocks him, and then Papa Elf has to explain that his father hooked up with his mom. He had to go. She found out she was pregnant, but then she ended up putting him up for adoption, and then passed away sometime later. So now he's on a pilgrimage to go find his father, and he has all these like hopes. It's like he's like a child in a way. It's like he's kind of regressed and didn't have time to be in like normal human settings to grow up, like a natural pace. And like, not say get out of a childlike mentality, but just like, just have a level of understanding of his surroundings, because you'll understand when I mention it later about like how he interacts with other people. So once he gets to the city, he like, he sees like these two guys, people pass out flowers and everything like that. He just think people just giving stuff to people, just giving them to them. So he's just got a complete childlike innocence about him. Like, there's nothing shady to anybody. He's just like, you think it's like everything is just going all fun and games and innocence. So people passing out flyers, like he keeps taking more and more, and just like taking everybody all their flyers, and and then he's like, he's first time he experienced and revolving door. He's playing around like it's like it's a roller coaster kind of situation. So he has, it's kind of in a way as I watched him in a therapy, like, last year, who mentions about Elf. He kind of like has ADHD in a way, where it's like he doesn't see anything outside of his oneself. Not like he's arrogant or anything like that, but he's just like a child, hasn't grown to the point to where they understand that, like mommy and daddy has feelings too. They have wants too. They, they have needs too. But when they're so young, it's all about their orbit kind of situation, and like the childlike innocence and everything like that. And they gotta think a certain way that's not, I don't want to say traditional or whatever like that, but you know what I mean. It's like they have to operate and be educated, differently than everybody else, because their brains operate differently than everybody else's. They learn at a certain pace. So that's pretty much Buddy in like a nutshell. So when he eventually meets his father, who works at the Empire State Building as a children's like a publisher, or like a children's book publisher. But he's also concerned because Santa told him that his father's on a naughty list, because as a funny scene where he's taking back the books, or like either books or money from this nun who seems like it was like because she wasn't keeping up with like payments or something or other like that. I forget it. And he has to take it back, and he's like, no, think of the children. I was like, you see, you're trying to guilt me, but it's like, if you think about it, it's on you kind of situation. So he's like completely like, lost any kind of wherever he was, because there's a picture of him with a guitar and a leather jacket trying to do the whole Fonzie thing, meeting this hippie, chick kind of situation. And it's like, he probably was like a certain way back then. It's like, I guess it's probably like during the 70s. It's like free love and all that other stuff. And like, I'm pretty sure that when he left and he realized he had to buckle down and stuff like that. So he kind of like lost that mindset, which some adults tend to do when they get to a certain age and life affects them in certain ways. So they lose that childlike innocence, which is kind of like the running theme here, where it's like between like the father and the son reuniting, they have to rub off on each other so they can like be kind of whole, where like Buddy's childlike innocence and the way he sees the world has to be the father has to acknowledge or see that and find beauty in that and reclaim what he lost long ago, before he got not cold-hearted but just just a matter of factly kind of guy, and just like you know just like I want to say keep people at arm's length, but he just became so like so serious of himself, and lost any kind of joy or fun out of life. While Buddy has to learn that he has to mature a bit, because there's like an awesome scene where he's starting to catch on kind of situation. The more like when he visit the doctor, their pediatrician, who turns out to be John Farrow, he mentions that if you spend more time with him, he eventually will grow out of that. Which is, you see that kind of running that kind of course, at least a little bit, where Buddy's sitting in his father's office, and his father's trying to do some work. And I'm jumping around a bit, but when he's trying to do some work, Buddy mentions asks like, "Oh, what is name on your desk?" Well, I bought the desk and I put the name here so everybody will know not to steal it. And Buddy with Will Ferrell's cool subtle subtle acting here is really like he got some acting chops. So you forget that because he's so comedic in a lot of his roles, but it's like he gives that smirk and that just the way he gives the look, like that's a joke, right, Dad? Yes, but it is a joke. It's like he's catching on, like like the I'm trying to think of the word where it's like the mannerisms, the social cues, in like human adult life. But anyway, like the first meeting doesn't go off, to a hitch. You kind of like brush Buddy off. Then Buddy starts going around, eventually, going around the city, and eventually ends up in this, department store called Gimbel's, and he meets Zoe Deschanel's character, Jovi. And I'm so glad, this isn't like because if this was like a Hallmark movie or something, you can bet your butt her name would have been Holly or Belle or Snow, or Kringle or something to the effect of the season. But Jovi's probably like show for jovial, I imagine. But it's just that, given the fact that Zoe Deschanel is kind of a quirky girl, and I like Zoe Deschanel, I loved her in New Girl. She's been in like a few other things, but the only one that comes to mind, other movies she's been in, is Yes Man with Jim Carrey, and she's been a failure to launch as like a supporting character to Sarah Jessica Parker's character in that film. And which I'm not thinking about it. I'm kind of want to, because I want to do like a short Valentine's Day, like at least a month. I mean a combination in February of a couple of I don't know. I was thinking about like some like maybe not like so serious black films, kind of situation, not so serious, but just like films with like good black people, respectable kind of situation, but in combination with some romantic comedy movies to celebrate the month of Black History Month at the same time as Valentine's Day for the month of February. That's what I'm thinking about doing. But anyway, when he meets Jovi, she's kind of like very reserved. She's very introvert. She just does her business and go home kind of situation. And then you see her and Buddy like interact. It's kind of hilarious where it's like he mentions about singing, like, don't you know how to sing? Of course I know how to sing. I just don't like doing it in front of people. Oh, it's easy. You just do. It's just not that different from doing it by yourself. You're just doing it in front of people. It's just the way he describes it is funny. It's like you just talk like normally, but then you move the pitch of your voice up and down. and like I'm singing, it's so easy. It's like, it's just like, it's the childlike fun of it. It's like, I think that's the point of Elf. Is it's like it's kind of like he's just reminding people of like the joys of innocent childlike fun, where when a kid's just stomping in a puddle in the rain, most adults would look at it as like, this kid got no freaking home trainer or whatever like that. But a kid is just in his own happiness right then and there. It's just like he's just playing in a puddle. It's just the simple joys of life, and that's Buddy. And I think that's like awesome. And it's like that's something that's kind of like a lot of adults kind of miss out on, where you can just go outside and play. Like, who cares how old you are? You want to go to the beach, build a sandcastle, and you're like 40 years old? Who gives a fuck? Do it. Have fun. Enjoy life, Reclaim your childlike innocence. You know what I mean? It's just like, you want to go out, and try to climb a tree in your own yard. Do it. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. It's just the simple things. And which I do highly recommend you do. I'm pretty sure it probably will do wonders for you just to go outside and take off your shoes and socks and put your feet in your yard. Like, put it in the ground, or if you're out at the beach, just stick your toes in the sand or water and just embrace the surroundings of like the environment, of course, like, she gets slightly charmed by him, but a little more later, thanks to the coaxing of his younger half brother, who his name is Michael. Of course, at first Michael is like, didn't want nothing. He thinks it's some kind of like weirdo adult just hanging out with us. But the wife, Mrs. Hobbs, wife to Walter Hobbs, played by James Caan, but Emily Hobbs, played by Mary Steenburgen, she is fully, because if this was any other movie, I'm pretty sure most directors or writers would have written the wife as like a stubborn, or not stubborn, but kind of like God, what's the word? I'm blanking on words today. It's kind of like a little bit like jealous, or like kind of encroaching on her own family, where she'll view him as like a stranger. But that's the role of the father right now, where he sees his own son as like a stranger. Like, he didn't raise this kid, he doesn't know this kid, but he's not embracing the fact that he's getting a chance to know him now. But most writers and directors will probably have written the wife similar to, it's like, I don't, kind of like, she fully embraces Buddy and wants help. She encourages his like talents and interests, like when he makes her spaghetti for breakfast and he pours a little bit of syrup on top, she actually just takes a bite. She got a face like it's disgusting, but it's not that dissimilar to what a mother would behave like to her 10-year-old child who wanted to make her parents breakfast. And what she super appreciates is because the husband nor the son, the youngest one, bothers to make her breakfast in the morning. She's normally doing that, but she's up. And then she knows how Buddy's already up fixing food. And like, she appreciates that. And so in that appreciation, she's going to try it, just to indulge his indulgences. He, so this obviously makes him happy. But then he also, like, packs her a lunch with this number of spaghetti. but it's just that encouragement. That's just that mom like encouragement, which James Caan character Walter Hobbs has to learn to build up to himself. That's his art. To get out of that whole, so serious emotion he's in. Like, he's just stuck in this kind of like, I'm adult now, and like I have no time for fun attitude. Yeah, stick up his ass, pretty much. So, he doesn't want, Buddy to be left alone in the house because he already like gotten mischief in a way where it's like, well, I won't say mischief, but he just like, he decorates the house and everything like that, without his consent, which looks good. He, got a big giant tree and just shoved it in the house and started decorating it, which you think is like a negative, but I guess in hindsight, he didn't go through the proper. He just did it just on a whim of his own without asking, kind of situations. Like, it would have been a nice surprise, but it's kind of like something like you just don't do willy-nilly in somebody's house, related or otherwise. I think it would probably been best if he did it as like a family instead of just doing it on his own whim. But then it's like this nice little moment between the younger brother, where it's like I mentioned earlier, kids trying to pick on him, throwing like snowballs at him, but buddies came out and just machine gun fire snowballs at these dudes and did like a long shot throw and nailed this little punk in the back. It was like a good shot. It was fun. It was funny and like a good little scene. Whereas like, now like Michael, like everybody's starting to warm up to Buddy because the innocence of him, the way he sees the world is just like, it's intoxicating. It's something that you do want to reacquire to yourself, to feel that feeling, because everybody around Buddy is like so serious in their lives. I mean, Jovi's so serious about her job, she just like sticks to her own self. She's working at a department store, dressed as an elf, trying to like set up everything, but it's just a job to her. There's no fun in it. Even like the boss, played by Faison Love, not Faison Love. That's the Scrubs guy, isn't it? No, I was right. Faison Love. I'm thinking of like Scrubs guy. I think his name is Faison too. Even he, behaving a little bit, too serious, like, because job's not supposed to be fun. This is a job kind of situation, and it's like, he's worried about his job because he walks in and because Buddy overnight decorated everything out the wazoo. It looks gorgeous, and he's thinking like it's some kind of underhanded thing or someone's gunning for his job. It's like so serious, but almost everybody he meets up with. But because of Buddy's just straight up positive, it's like being around Superman and his positive attitude. It's infectious, and it's something you want to just be around and makes you feel good. And like I think that is like a good almost like I'm pretty sure it's like a commentary there. It's like it's very good to like see that, because like I think a lot of people, when they reach a certain age, they forget that. But there's one moment where it's like you get the whole climax where the father really goes off on Buddy when like you see Peter Dinklage has a cameo in this where he plays like a liaison or a consultant that Walter hires, who's like very famous, once again, all business, all serious. And because like Peter Dinklage like not play at tight, but he doesn't shy away at like certain like movies or scenes that commentates on his height or jokes that's commentating on his height. He uses it as a benefit, and it's like he leans into it. It adds to the funny, whereas like and it plays off against Buddy's attitude, just childlike mindset. It's just like it's kind of hilarious where like if it was made today, I don't think that anybody would let that, ride at all. But Buddy, when he enters the office, while they're in a meeting, he makes a comment to a pretty ridiculous character's name, Miles Finch, and he asks like Miles Finch, "Oh, are you a Christmas elf?" And which insults him, and then he goes over and starts kicking Buddy's ass. and it's like, of course, when Miles says like, say that, call me an elf one more time, and then of course Buddy thinks like he doesn't understand about rhetorical questions, and he just says like, okay, you're an elf. It just choking the crap out of him. But then like this kind of sets off Walter, and it's like blows up on him, and it's like he never wanted him. It's like oh, you're not my son, like, get out of my life kind of situation, which upsets him, because this is like a second time when like you see like the father blow up him, because when earlier in the film when he's like Buddy was in like holding, and he made his first phone call. He called his father. That's what any child would do. If they're in trouble, they would call their parents. And like, and it's just the childlike innocence when he got him out of lockup, he grabs him by the collar and pushes him against the wall, and thinking like this guy's trying to scam him at the time, and like, what do you want? You want money? Is that it? And this whole childlike mentality very well, because it's like he just like, no, I just want to spend time with you. It's like he's like in a mindset of like a kid. It's kind of like Hedwig in the movie Split, played by James McAvoy, where he's like in that mindset. I'm a child, and like I had a childlike innocence mindset, and it's like when a child is getting who just want to play, with the parent and do all this stuff, and like when the parent snaps at him, because I guess like at a certain point it does get annoying or whatever like that, the kid doesn't know why you're giving off this aggression, which would upset them. And it's kind of something like parents gotta watch out for, not to do that, because like the kid, especially if they're a small kid or it has like a just mentally just kind of like in that age range, they don't know they're getting annoying. They don't know better like that. They don't pick up those kind of social cues. They're at least not to that level yet. And like, so when he snaps at him, he's like he doesn't know why, like he's upset. He just wants to play. He just want to spend time with him. It's like, why is that upsetting him so much? Kind of situation. But then you see like Walter kind of reels it back, and you realize, like, okay, this is obviously not a con, James Caan. But then that's when he takes him to the doctor, and he thinks like he's certifiable, but it's like, it's just the way he was raised. He's reverted to a childlike mindset, so you gotta like, mature that by spending time with him. But he got so upset, he pretty much ran away, which, upset like, the mother and the son, the youngest son, call him selfish and everything like that. And then, but he comes around once he realizes like Buddy's missing, and the young son kind of, put the screws to him pretty much. And he realized, he's telling his boss, Walter tell his boss like, F off, I'm gonna find my son. It was on Christmas Eve night, and Santa's sleigh crashes when he's trying to make his rounds, and Buddy catches him, and Santa like needs his help because like the rockets that was underneath the sleigh that propelled him kind of crapped out on him, because the secondary energy reserve that they need is a Christmas spirit, which fuels on faith, which he needs, a bit of to get him off the ground. Which, when Buddy went to go find like the rocket boosters, he bumps into his brother and his father apologizes. They reconcile, and they help get Santa's sleigh off the ground. It was an awesome little scene. Thanks to Jovi, who saw on the news about Buddy, she works the crowd around there into like a frenzy for song. And it's like she starts singing Christmas song, and everybody join in and all that. It's kind of like Ghostbusters 2 when when they sing the New Year's song that got the crowd into like a positive frenzy, and it gets the Statue of Liberty to move. It's kind of like a situation like that, where it's like all that jovial Christmas songs gets everybody in that positive mood, which raises the energy of the sleigh to max, so Santa Claus can take off. Now, sometimes that pass, the movie ends where Buddy and Jovi's living at the North Pole, and they have a daughter. And the movie ends with and then of course the father starting up his own publishing company with his own rules, and so he can say his own time, so he can spend more time, say his own hours, so he can spend more time with his family. And so the movie ends with Buddy having his own family now, and living in the North Pole with Jovi. So, and I like the subtle touch of ending the story in like a storybook ending kind of situation with the breaking in bass artistry, which is like very, very good touch. So yeah, I mean, I enjoy this movie. Like I said, it's not like my favorite one, but I do enjoy this film. It definitely deserves an A. I mean, just because it's not my favorite, I cannot say I don't acknowledge how good this is. I really kind of wish there was like more to it with the. I mean, it's tight movie. It's a tight movie. I just kind of wish there was like a little bit more with. We got a little bit more maturity coming from Will Ferrell's character. So like Buddy shows some signs of that adulthood coming from the people he's interacting with. So he has better knowledge of like human interactions, or at least adult interactions, because in the end he's still sitting on his adopted father's lap, and it's like he's holding his own baby. It's kind of like, not like he didn't learn anything, but it's kind of like I guess you got to end it on a joke, but it was just like I just really wish we could see some more maturity, at least a little bit more on his side of things, while he kind of showed off some more fun and innocence to his father. But yeah, I mean, this is like a solid film. If you haven't seen Elf, definitely give it a watch. It's on HBO Max. You can watch anytime. But let me know what you guys think. Follow me in the links below the description, and stay tuned for more movies down the line for me to review and talk about. And yeah, it's been fun. I mean, it's fun to revisit Elf. I really cannot remember the last time I've seen it. I don't think I've seen it last year. But I'm fairly certain I saw it the year before. Like I said, it's not a movie that I so eager to jump into, but it's just like if the need arises, I'll jump into it. But anyway, yeah, I will see you guys next time. Be careful, be safe, and yeah, happy holidays.